No matter what a person's stance on evolution, one has to admire the genius of what Charles Darwin did over 150 years ago. Given the information of his day, what he constructed was brilliant. Now, we would argue that in the time since then, there's a lot more information that should be considered. And I'm concerned, and a lot of us are concerned with some of the assumptions that scientists make and some of the assumptions that Christians make in interpreting what we see and what we believe in regards to origin of life. The origin of life dilemma is a much greater puzzle than I think most Americans are willing to admit. There's a lot of gaping holes in naturalistic theory. Here's the first big dilemma I'd like to talk about. It comes from a posting in February of 2011 on Nova's Science Now entitled Revealing the Origins of Life. And it's talking with the British scientists who are claiming that the partial RNA world does a good job of explaining how life could begin on planet Earth and we could end up with replicating cells. And their idea was beginning with only cytosine, just one of the four bases for RNA. When they exposed it to radiation, some of the cytosine broke down and became uracil. So they're arguing that this is pretty cool, that we're starting maybe to see, based on how you mix things and how things interact, we might reach the RNA eventually through discovering those types of means. Well, there's a problem. In fact, we're no closer than we were 20 years ago to explaining how the four bases could come together, and here's why. I was recently rereading this book. It's a great book, Genesis Question by Hugh Ross. I strongly suggest Reasons to Believe organization and a lot of the books that they've written. But in here, they were discussing the notion that cytosine and uracil come together naturally under high temperatures, whereas adenine and guanine will assemble in very cold temperatures. So the fact that cytosine would break down with the sun's radiation to become uracil, that's cool, but we're still miles away from getting cytosine and guanine together and adenine and uracil together, because they're assembling in two different time zones, in two different temperature zones. So the fact that we are less than an eighth of the way to answering the question of a partial RNA world, there's concerns there. I know a lot of scientists have faith that they're going to put the puzzle together. And I think what happens is the people in the cutting edge of science are saying, hey, we got faith, it's going to take care of itself, trust us, we'll let you know soon. Well, it's 150 years later, and we got the best, brightest people in the world trying to figure it out. And it is not easy to understand how life could begin. In fact, what our argument is that the more you look at things, the more you see that for substances to come together, they really have to violate the conditions that we know to be true in regards to how things assemble and how they exist. So we keep running into dead ends as far as trying to explain, even with the partial RNA world, and then eventually getting to DNA, how life could begin on Earth. So it's a dilemma, it's a mystery, and it would not be fair to say that we are close at all in trying to figure out how that would occur naturally. Our argument would be the evidence doesn't suggest that it happened naturally. That the more we see how we run up against restrictions with conditions for life, the more we, I would argue, put up our hands and say somebody from outside of our space-time dimension has to be involved in allowing these things to come together and for life to actually start in the first place.